So we just play around with being able to render and apply the behavior of sorting these elements over here. So let's apply this behavior to our assignment. So let's we have in our assignment we have we have a list of widgets, right, that we want to make sortable, right? So there they are. There are widgets. We want to be able to sort this, right? And they are inside of a container fluid, right? And they're being dynamically rendered, okay? So first of all, we'll need to load both the jQuery and the jQuery UI libraries onto this project, right? So let's go to the index file that implements our Angular application, right? So we have here the in public, we have Wednesday assignment, we have the index page, and let's load both libraries right here. I don't believe we are loading jQuery. Yes, we are. Okay, so let's all right. So this is we're loading it from a CDN, but let's load them from a local, which is a newer version that I have here. So let's go up one JS vendor, and let's go into jQuery. There we go. And we're also going to load the jQuery UI library here. So JScript source, and let's go up one JS and then down to vendor. And here we have jQuery UI. There it is. Okay. All right. There we go. So we loaded the both libraries right here. What we could do is, anywhere we could make sortable those widgets. Anywhere? Well, not anywhere, right? Because remember that these are dynamically rendered by Angular, right? Angular is dynamically iterating over this array that's listed up here, and is dynamically loading HTML, filling all this, and manipulating the DOM, right? So we kind of have to wait until this is all rendered for us to come in and start making changes to the DOM and making things sortable. The best place to put it, well, almost the best place to put it, is the controller that is, the most intuitive place to put this, right, is the controller. The controller is the one fetching the data, right, and then providing it to the templates for rendering, right? So let's put it in the controller, right? So let's go to the controller. And the controller, let's see, I believe it's this one, widget list controller, right? That one is, let's see, it's going out to the find all widgets. It's not going to the server, right? This one we didn't convert to go out to the server. It's still grabbing it from a local array, this array right here, right? So once we pass it onto the template iterates over it and renders it. Yes? Right. Once it renders it, what we want to do is, let's see, where is it rendered? It's right here, right? And let's see, where are all those widgets? This is where we are iterating over all the widgets right here. And for each widget, we are copying and pasting this over and over and over for each instance, right? So there are a couple ways that we could do it. One way that we could do it is just put the div around, right, all these, so that this becomes the parent of all the widgets, and each one of these will be, as you mentioned, these will be all siblings, right? Right. If we look at it, if we look at this at the DOM level, we can inspect it. Notice that here is the header, right? Where is it? There it is. That's the widget, right? If we close all these, notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right, for each one of the widgets. See that? It's copied over and over, right? So this right here is being copied over and over once per element, right? So we could put a parent on top of that and maybe give it an ID and say that this is the widget list, right? This is the parent of all the widgets, right? Okay, so if I re-render this, notice that indeed, right, if I open this, notice that I have all the widgets under there. Right? We could grab this widget list, right, and apply the sortable on this. Right? So let's try that. Let's try that. So after it has been rendered, we're going to try and use $ and say, let's see, we want to grab this widget list whose ID is widget list, right? So to do that, the CSS rule for that would be hash, right, widget list. Notice my IDE is smart enough, right, to parse and find that ID right away and give it to me right here. Yes?
This is using the same version of jQuery that Angular is using? If you're doing it in this file?
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Yep. Yes. Yeah, good question. Here we're using jQuery, right? And notice where we declare our jQuery, right here. We declared it right here, right before we declared Bootstrap, and we declare Angular right here. You see that? Right? Without these here, jQuery, Angular already uses a smaller version of jQuery called jQuery Lite. Okay, but if Angular finds the jQuery object already defined, all right, it ditches its own smaller version of jQuery, and now it uses the full-blown jQuery library. Okay, jQuery Lite is a subset of the jQuery language. As I showed you earlier, right, jQuery has a lot of syntactic sugar, so that you can do it one way or another way to do the same thing. So jQuery Lite does away with all those niceties, right, because they're not really needed. Okay, it just uses the bare minimum of the subset of the library. Okay, it's a minified, smaller subset of the library. But if it does find it, it says, well, why use the light version anyway, right? I have this one. It's a superset, right? So all the functions that I need are going to be there anyway. So I'll use yours. Okay, for its own DOM manipulation, it uses whatever we declared right above it. Make sense? All right. So this $ object refers to the one that we loaded here. Okay? All right. All right, there we go. So we have the hash widget list, and we can make it now .sortable, right? And now if we reload, right, these become sortable. I can move them around, right? We can move them around, put them down below, and the video as well. I can just move it around. There it is, right? Or move this up and down, right? So that works just nice. One thing that looks kind of weird is that since this is a phone application, it kind of is weird that we can drag things left and right, right? So one of the things that we would like to be able to configure is that we don't allow the person to drag things left and right, only up and down, right? So if we go back to the sortable documentation, if we go to the API documentation, we'll see that there's quite a few options of here listed on this column that allows us to configure the behavior of of sortable. One of the things that we can configure, for instance, is the axes, right? The axes, if we click on it, here it gives us an example that we can pass a JSON object to configure the behavior. Yes. Right, yes. For instance, for that, we can configure what is called a handle, right? So that not the entire element is sortable, but you have to grab it by a particular handle, right? So for instance, you can say handle, right, and give it a CSS rule of the elements, right, whose class is handle or whatever you want to call it, right? Sandwich or whatever, right? And then it says, okay, I will only allow you to move it around only if you click and drag this particular element. So you can configure what the handle is. By default, you can grab it anywhere, anywhere in the div, in the container, right, of the siblings. All right. Yeah. So let me take a look at the axes. So if I go to axes, I can provide a JSON object to configure the behavior. I can say here, and it says that the axis, I don't want X, right? I want just the Y axis, right? So if I refresh this again, notice that I can move up and down, but I can't move left and right, right? I can only move up and down, which makes sense, right? Right. And also, like, as you mentioned, I can grab anywhere, right? Which maybe it's okay, right? Maybe on a small screen, hitting this little tiny little thing here is so small. Perhaps it's okay that you can click on that, right? But yeah, maybe on a desktop it might make sense to make it just a handle, right? Everybody okay? Everybody makes sense? All right.